In the modern world, very few names carry the weight of innovation, courage, and creative rebellion like Steve Jobs. He was not born into wealth. He was not the smartest student in class. He was not even sure what he wanted to become. And yet, he changed how we communicate, how we listen to music, how we carry technology in our pockets. This is not just the story of a billionaire. This is the story of belief, failure, persistence, and the courage to follow your inner voice, even when the world tells you that you are wrong. This is the story of Steve Jobs. Chapter 1. A Child Given Away. Steve Jobs was born on February 24, 1955. His biological parents were young, unmarried, and unprepared to raise a child, so they made a painful decision. They gave him up for adoption. That moment could have become the beginning of insecurity, abandonment, and emotional weakness, but instead, it became the foundation of Steve's identity. He was adopted by Paul and Clara Jobs, simple working-class couple living in California. They were not rich. They were not powerful, but they made one promise. They promised to raise Steve as if he was chosen, and that idea stayed with him for the rest of his life. Steve once said, "I was not abandoned. I was chosen." That belief shaped his confidence, his independence, and his hunger to create something meaningful. Chapter 2. The Curious Child. From a young age, Steve Jobs was different. He questioned everything. He challenged authority. He refused to accept boring answers. His father, Paul Jobs, worked as a mechanic. But to Steve, his father was more than that. Paul taught Steve something rare, not just how to build things, but how to care about quality. When building a fence or fixing a cabinet, Paul would say, "You must make the back of the cabinet as beautiful as the front, even if nobody sees it." This lesson became the soul of Apple products decades later, because Steve believed true. Craftsmanship is about integrity, doing great work even when nobody is watching. Chapter 3. School Struggles and Rebellion. Steve was not a perfect student. He was intelligent but bored. The traditional education system felt slow, rigid, and uninspiring. He often got into trouble. He questioned teachers. He challenged rules. At times, adults saw him as difficult. But in reality, Steve was not rebellious for attention. He was rebellious because his mind demanded meaning. He didn't want memorization. He wanted purpose. And this restless curiosity would soon lead him toward technology. Chapter 4. Meeting Steve Wozniak. Every great story has a turning point. For Steve Jobs, that moment came when he met Steve Wozniak. Wozniak was a brilliant engineer, quiet, logical, technical. Jobs was the opposite, visionary, charismatic, bold. Together, they formed the perfect balance. Wozniak could build machines. Jobs could imagine what those machines could become. They began experimenting with electronics, circuit boards, and early computers. And slowly, an idea started to form. What if computers were not just for scientists? What if technology could be personal? What if everyone could own one? Chapter 5. The Garage That Changed the World. In 1976, with almost no money and no corporate backing, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak started working out of a small garage. No investors, no fancy office, no guarantees, just two young men and a bold dream. They built the Apple II, a simple computer motherboard. Jobs sold his van. Wozniak sold his calculator. They sacrificed comfort for possibility. And that garage became one of the most legendary birthplaces in business history because it proved something powerful. You do not need perfect conditions to start. You only need courage to begin. Chapter 6. Early Success and Pressure. Apple began to grow. The Apple II became a massive success. Money started coming in. Media attention followed. Investors arrived. Steve Jobs was only in his early 20s. And suddenly he was running a fast-growing technology company. But success brought pressure. Jobs became demanding, perfectionist, obsessive about details. Some people loved his vision. Others found him difficult to work with. But Steve believed something deeply. Great products are not created by compromise. They are created by obsession. Chapter 7. The Mindset of Greatness. Even at a young age, Steve Jobs lived differently. He dressed simply. He lived minimally. He focused intensely. He believed that life was short and that every day mattered. He once said, "Your time is limited. Don't waste it living someone else's life." That belief drove him to take risks, to trust intuition, to reject average thinking. Pause. Message to the viewer. If you are watching this right now and you feel lost, confused, uncertain about your future, remember this. Steve Jobs did not start with a perfect plan. He started with curiosity, with courage, with the willingness to try. Your beginning does not define your ending. Chapter 8. The storm approaches, but success does not last forever. Behind the scenes, conflicts were growing, leadership struggles were forming, power battles were rising inside Apple, and soon, Steve Jobs would face the most painful moment of his career. He would be removed from the very company he created. Steve Jobs, fired from Apple, broken dreams, and the rise through failure. Success is beautiful, but loss is what truly tests character. For Steve Jobs, the company he created, Apple, would soon turn against him. The young visionary who built a billion-dollar brand was about to be pushed out of his own creation, not by enemies, but by his own board of directors. Chapter 1. Power struggles inside Apple. As Apple grew larger, it became more corporate, more structured, more political. Steve Jobs was a visionary, but he was not an easy leader. He demanded perfection. He challenged authority. He moved fast. Many executives believed he was too emotional, too unpredictable. So the board brought in a professional CEO. His name was John Sculley. At first, Steve admired him. He even personally convinced Sculley to join Apple by saying, "Do you want to sell sugar water for the rest of your life? Or do you want to come with me and change the world?" But over time, their relationship turned into rivalry. Two leaders, two visions, one company. Chapter 2. The day Steve Jobs lost Apple in 1985. The board made a shocking decision. They removed Steve Jobs from power. They stripped him of real authority. The founder was pushed aside. Steve Jobs was only 30 years old, and suddenly, he felt empty, betrayed, humiliated, lost. He once described this moment as devastating. "I really didn't know what to do next." For months, he questioned himself. His identity was gone. His dream had collapsed. But sometimes, life removes comfort to make room for growth. Chapter 3. The Birth of NeXT. Instead of giving up, Steve Jobs started again. From zero, he created a new company called NeXT. This time, he focused on building powerful computers for education and research. NeXT machines were expensive. They didn't sell well commercially. Many people called it a failure. But something powerful was happening behind the scenes. Steve was learning. He was becoming more patient, more mature, more focused. NeXT forced him to evolve from a passionate founder into a real leader. Chapter 4. The Pixar Miracle while building NeXT. Steve made another bold move. He invested in a small animation studio. That studio was called Pixar. At the time, Pixar was losing money. Nobody believed animated films created fully by computers could succeed. But Steve Jobs believed in the team. He supported them financially. He trusted their creativity. And then, in 1995, Pixar released Toy Story. The world was shocked. It became a massive success. Pixar turned into a global animation giant, and Steve Jobs quietly became a billionaire again, not through Apple, but through patience and belief. Chapter 5. Failure becomes the greatest teacher. Steve Jobs later said something powerful about this period. Getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have happened to me. Why? Because failure removed ego. It brought clarity. It brought freedom. He was no longer trapped by past success. He was free to experiment, free to rebuild, free to grow. Sometimes, what feels like destruction is actually preparation. Message to the viewer. Pause. Moment if you are facing failure, if you lost a job, a business, a relationship, a dream. Remember this. Failure does not mean the end. It means redirection. Your setback could be your setup. Chapter 6. Apple begins to collapse while Steve was rebuilding. Apple was slowly declining. Poor product decisions, confusing designs, falling sales. The company that once ruled the industry was now struggling to survive. And then, in 1997, something unexpected happened. Apple called Steve Jobs back. The company he created now needed him to survive. Chapter 7. The Return of the Founder. Steve Jobs returned to Apple, not as the arrogant young founder, but as a wiser, sharper leader. His first move was bold. He cut unnecessary products. He simplified the company. He removed weak ideas. He focused on one mission: create insanely great products. Not average, not safe, but revolutionary. Chapter 8. The Think Different Revolution. Steve launched one of the most powerful campaigns in history. Think Different. It wasn't about computers, it was about mindset. It celebrated the crazy ones, the rebels, the dreamers, the misfits, people who refused to accept limits. Steve wasn't just selling products, he was selling identity. He was building a movement. Chapter 9. Building the foundation for legendary products behind the scenes. Steve restructured Apple completely. He brought discipline. He rebuilt teams. He pushed design to extreme standards. Every curve, every button, every detail had to feel perfect. This new Apple was not just a company. It was a creative machine preparing to change the world again.